Hello, one and all. Welcome back to another friendly natter. Um, Rach is taking the week off because she's earned it. So you've got Anna and Sarah with you today, and we are talking all things Christmas. We have promised to come back to the Ofsted um, keystones about parenting and being parent friendly. We will do that after Christmas. We are going to talk all things Christmas today because we are in that mood. As you can see, Sarah has dressed appropriately. That,
Hi.
that's pretty normal for you though, Sarah, yeah? Explain your
Yeah.
your jumper.
Oh, I like a Christmas jumper in December. We used to do it when I was in schools, and I just thought it was appropriate to continue it. And also, what else do you do with that large number of Christmas jumpers if you don't wear them during December?
Absolutely. You've got to make the most out of the purchasing. Super stuff. Right. So Christmas in schools, obviously right now it's a hive of activity across schools as things are, we say winding down for the end of term, but it's never a winding down, is it, Sarah? It's a winding up of all
No.
things as it gets busier for staff, more frenetic with the excitement of children. Parents are um, concerned may not be the right word, but they're frantic about getting themselves ready for Christmas as well as dealing with everything that's going on in school that normally means they have more to do as well, like sorting costumes, bringing things in for fairs, supporting them, all those sorts of things, arranging time off work for nativities. There's so much going on, right? Um,
There is.
what are the main things you think we can do to support families in and
I
schools?
think as we go down to the last week, having spoken to quite a few school leaders and CEOs this week, can we just strip it back and just remember that actually this lovely festive period is all about getting together with all those people you want to be with?
Mhm.
And I appreciate there's going to be a group of people that you don't necessarily want to be with, but you're going to be with them. Um, but rather than all the tinsel and the overeating and the chocolate, I think we just need to just remember we want to be with certain people, and it's about joy and excitement. And actually, for some people, that can be really, really overwhelming, especially
Mhm.
some of our younger children in schools and some of our children with SEND. So, some of the things that we can do is predict what's happening towards the end of term because we seem to lose routines, and it would be
Mm.
fabulous if we just reinforce some of those routines, kept some of those routines. We're a little bit more flexible to certain things that some children might find a little bit difficult, overwhelming. Some of those unfamiliar activities that they're being asked to do might raise anxiety level, might mean they display some behaviours that maybe we don't really appreciate in school. We just need to be a
Yeah.
little bit more tolerant. And this isn't the time of year to be tolerant either, is it?
No,
Uh,
everyone's exhausted. Yes, but it is possible. We know teachers are amazing people. Yeah.
and we just need those teachers just to be a little bit more amazing and almost foresee some of these things. But also,
Mm.
when they get a break, they need to properly take that break as well, because I do want to acknowledge the fact that they do a fabulous job. And they're also juggling their own home life with all the amazing stuff of Christmas for these young people to have these experiences as well.
Yeah, exactly right. Some of the things you were talking about there are about helping to make school activities more inclusive and accessible for some of those children with SEND. Um, and that whole idea of predicting and letting people know how routines are going to be changing if they are, and what's going to be happening that is different to the normal scale of things can be so important for some of those children adjusting and adapting to that sort of change, right?
Yeah, and I've seen an amazing idea in one school, and it might be
Yeah.
too late for this to be implemented, as a whole school thing. But they had a Christmas corner, which they started in November with, so the children could touch tinsel, they could read what was going to happen, so they could see it. There were ideas for different opportunities and gifts and things that were all accessible pricing, and there were things being put in there so they could taste a mince pie, and it was all just very,
Mm.
very exciting. And parents had the opportunity to engage with it before and after school, and staff were there as well. And it was just such a lovely sort of example of how actually predicting forward,
Yeah,
giving opportunities and communicating them, and also just thinking, actually, how do we create that sensory experience, but also in a normalized way? Because then when the
yeah.
tinsel went round school, they'd seen it.
Exactly. It's that preemptive safe space where they can explore those things without having them forced upon them, in order to decide what they do and don't like, what they will and won't want to be a part of. And that, this doesn't just apply to children with SEND. It applies to all people, really, never mind children or not. Christmas is
Yeah,
thrust upon many of us
and I think
unwittingly.
I think one of the really lovely examples I saw in a secondary school, they actually did performances, but they did them in silence, apart from the singing. And I thought that was really interesting. So any acting out had
Mm.
to be properly, and it was done in that way so that everybody could come to the
Mm.
performance. And they also had an afternoon performance for families. So it didn't matter if the baby cried in the corner, that
Mm.
mum wasn't embarrassed. So yeah, it was just really interesting just to see lots of different examples.
And approaches, absolutely. And then when we talk
Mm.
about inclusivity with Christmas, I don't know if this is coming sideways at you, but I'm wondering if you have any thoughts on it. But if we're talking about inclusivity, of course, there are many schools with families who don't celebrate Christmas and who don't recognize Christmas as well. And so when everything in school appears to be about Christmas, um, have you seen any great practice of inclusivity in that respect as well? How we make adjustments for those families and children who don't partake in any kind of Christmas celebration, so they don't feel left out.
So I've seen schools celebrate, and they've celebrated children's successes, and they've not called it Christmas, they've called it a festive period. And
Mm,
I know that that's something I use quite a lot, because actually it works really nicely, because we'll all enjoy a festive break. But actually what that really means, and some schools have done a really, really good job of how they actually celebrate everybody across the year. And so they've
yeah.
brought people into different celebrations. And I think that's quite a nice touch as well.
Absolutely. I think that's a really important point. There are so many festivals, which is what festive comes from. Yeah, there's so many festivals from all different cultures and religions all year round. And if schools are regularly celebrating all of them, no one is saying pare down Christmas. It doesn't have to be, ignored or treated less than anybody would want to. We can make a big deal out of it, but in the same way we make a big deal out of all of the other festivals and celebrations, the Festival of Lights, Hanukkah, whatever it might be. And then all the children are all learning about different practices, and it becomes a learning experience as well as a celebration, right?
Yeah, and I really like that. I think the schools that do that do it really, really well.
Mm.
And I also think there's something around, a head teacher I knew in my first school had a saying called "keep it tight" at the end of term, but it was "keep it tight, tight" at Christmas. And he always said, we don't put our Christmas stuff properly out till that last week. And I really liked that, because actually some of those other festivals on the whole of December into January. And I also think for some of those young people, it makes it more manageable. And it
Mm.
helps families as well when you're thinking about
Yeah.
how those families are juggling those children's emotions going in and out of school, but actually what that family time looks like for them, and that December period.
Yeah, absolutely. And that usefully leads into another thing I want to talk about, which is the idea of how schools can help signpost support for families during this sort of period, because it's certainly not an easy period for a lot of people. It comes with so much pressure and financial weight. I mean, there's plenty more signposting for that. There's an awful lot of emotional and well-being struggle and difficulty are caught up around Christmas as well. But what can schools do in that respect in order to help signpost for families? Have you seen any good practice of that?
Sometimes they've got really good connections of family workers with
Mm.
wider agencies, and seeing those family workers out on the gates and really working with families, almost
Yeah.
picking up things interconnected with what teachers are picking up as well, I think is really, really interesting. I think
Mm.
obviously there's organisations like Parent Kind. There's the National Autistic Society. They've done some fabulous resources. I think the Anna Freud Centre as well, they offer a range of different resources. They're just a few off the top of my head.
Mm.
But I think, it's just a case of being able to just have somebody else to talk to. So
Sure.
during even during this time, for schools that do great things like just a festive coffee morning,
Mm.
or an opportunity at the end of a performance just to have a quiet space for families, that's a really good way of picking up any of those additional, I suppose, pressures. It's the emotionalness as
Yeah,
well as the
it's needs.
financial.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, super draining. Potentially super draining. Obviously, super lovely for many people as well. But both of those things can live together. You can absolutely love Christmas and also find it really difficult at the same time. Yeah.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
and even like if you really enjoy Christmas, there's an element where actually it's just nice just to curl up and not think about it and watch a film and do something totally normal. But then
Yeah.
there's the loveliness, isn't there, around, getting everybody together. But it's
Mm.
how you do some of those things. And the change in temperature as well, and the weather, and do you embrace that, and how does that
Mhm.
affect your mood with the darkness? I'm just looking out the
Quite.
window now, it's already going dark
It
again,
is.
and you
And
just
it's
think,
four
yeah,
o'clock for the record when we're recording this. Oh, it's
I
looking bleak
know.
out there. Yeah. Um, it's finding how to make those things that could make us miserable fun. Where do we find the joy in those things? Looking for the sparkles of frost on the pavement as you're walking to and from school. Um, the act of wrapping up warm and unwrapping yourself like a Christmas present from your
Yeah,
scarf, your hat, your gloves, your mittens, whatever, your 12
it's
pairs
that
of socks.
hot chocolate, isn't it?
Well,
Because you wouldn't have that in the
absolutely.
summer necessarily. And
Yeah.
yeah, that taking delight in spending a little bit more time inside. What is there inside that you haven't looked at? And
Mm,
are there things that you'd like to have done that you never have time to because you're outside if you're an outdoorsy person?
mm.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
super. The some of the other things I know, some of the schools I'm working with are connected to in terms of signposting are things like food banks as well.
Yeah.
So another really useful direction to point some parents potentially towards if you think there might be an issue. I know some of the schools we work with have food banks actually bringing things into school, so parents don't have to go to the food bank and have the potential stigma of that as well. And there are things sort of offered to the families who are needed. They can come in at a certain point and pick up a little parcel that the school has made the connection with the food bank for. Um,
Also worth linking up with libraries at this time of year because
mm,
of the opportunity to be in a different space, but it's warm and they generally will have some refreshments and activities on as well for young people. And also just thinking about sort of places of worship as well, because they will have that additional space as well for refreshments, warmth, and activities. I know locally to me, there's an awful lot going on for young
mm,
people. Um, so it's sort of seeking those out and utilising that additional opportunity. I think for the adults as well, just to interact with another adult,
for sure.
especially if you're with the children all the time. I think that's
Mm,
that's really important because it's 2 weeks and Christmas happens quite quickly,
yeah.
and then actually you're left over that New Year
Post
period.
Christmas. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
if you're the one that's at home with the children, it's looking at those opportunities as well. Local parks are doing quite a lot as well.
Mm.
So it's just looking for what your local authority is putting on. And yeah, get
And
down to those local parks and do some of those walks. Mindful walks, I believe, is one of the things here.
I've done some lovely treasure hunts with children as well in the past. It's, when you wrap up warm, you've got a time limit on it because of the dark coming in. So, a limited time, and they go out with a list of, can they find a feather, a brown leaf, a green leaf, and as you're doing the walk, they've got an activity as well to keep them engaged and interested in looking at nature and thinking about being curious. And again, it's bringing those learning moments outside of school and extending that learning process so that parents are building those skills and that curiosity. I'm mostly talking about younger children here rather than older ones, but there's nothing wrong with older ones looking for for things on a treasure hunt too.
Think it's great to get away from screen time,
Yeah.
because actually they become so reliant on to what's on TV, what's on their
Mm,
phone, their tablet, their iPad. And I just think sort of stepping outside, we know the benefits from a well-being point of view. But some of the like older children activities, to like see how quickly you can get from one particular place to another, setting
mm,
the challenge for what you're looking for, hide and seek. Some of those activities are really exciting.
yeah, fabulous. And what's your favourite Christmas thing apart from the jumpers, obviously?
Apart
What's
from
your
the
favourite
jump,
part of Christmas? Yeah.
I've got to say the twinkliness of the tree, because when it comes
Oh,
down, it looks different, doesn't it? There's
that,
something about spending time with key people that you really want to be with to
yeah.
dress and like create that sparkle. I love a little bit of sparkle.
I mean, I've got to admit, I have fairy lights up in my house all year round. I am
Oh,
one of those people. But
I
yes,
love it. I think it's great. Yeah.
it's tapping into that magic. I think there's a, isn't it? There's the just that feeling in the air of magic, and anyone can tap into that. Parent, teacher, child of any age. It's finding those ways and those moments for every individual to get that sort of wonder in their eyes and that their own sparkle from the magic of the sense of the occasion. Whether they buy into Christmas or not, there's still magic in the air. I think when it's all done right, and helping young people and their adults recognize those moments.
Yeah, and I guess when I say sparkle in the tree, it's because I go back in time, because there's the
Mm,
every year we buy a new something, or we make something for the tree, and you come across it and
beautiful
that reminds you. What about yourself? What's special for
stories.
you?
Oh, I'm a little bit weird. I'm a lot weird, but the family element is huge for me. I've rarely had a Christmas in my 47 years where I haven't spent it with my siblings, my parents, my immediate family. Um, but one thing I really like is when the nights do draw in and when you step outside at what should be an afternoony time and it is a little bit dark and there's a crispness in the air and you see your breath and you just sort of go, oh, it's that time of year. I'm also lucky enough to live in Bath, and so the Christmas market here is a big deal. Um, Plenty of residents don't like it, but it's magic and it's wonderful. And just having that atmosphere and that buzz, like I say, in the air all around. I feel like I'm writing a Christmas song as I'm talking. Um, but it's that for me is the like the spirit of Christmas. Oh, don't get me wrong. Under a duvet on the sofa watching cheesy Hallmark films, always going to be high on my list too. But it's those moments you can grab together to enjoy those things. That's what I like about Christmas. So, like you said at the very beginning, it's those bringing everyone together moments and the almost permission to have downtime. And
Yeah, it
my
is
mother
that
would
one
laugh at that because it's
time,
a lot of
isn't
work for
it?
her, but it's finding those downtime moments. Yeah.
But I think as you get older, you share that. Like,
Mm,
I know my mum does Christmas Day this year, and I'm doing Boxing Day the following year. The next year it'll
mm,
alternate. And I just think it's that loveliness around how you share as well. So
yeah. So, I mean, just to wrap things up, thinking about those families who perhaps aren't as close as ours might be, those children who go home from where school is their safe space, and going home is a little bit more difficult for them. Um, you know, as educators, we've got to have, these things in our mind too, and just be conscious of how we can um, make the times that we are in control of as special as possible.
Absolutely. And that's why I think it's how you share Christmas or that
Mm,
festive time, and actually being really true to yourself, sharing you and
mm,
what's important to you, and then giving a little bit of that back in your classroom. I think that's the joy of what we get
super.
to do.
Absolutely lovely. Thank you, Sarah. I hope anyone who's been watching, listening, has picked up some ideas or has had a bit of an extra think about how they can make the Christmas celebrations in school a little more inclusive or accessible, or bring their own delight into play as well, because that's really what it's all about.
And if you want to read a little bit more, we have put an article on Christmas in LinkedIn, and we have got a fabulous magazine that's been set together by our parenting part of the charity as well.
Yeah, you'll find all of those resources available online if you're part of Parent Kind. Magic.
And parent friendly schools, if you want to read on.
Super stuff. Thank
Oh,
you for
thank
being here.
you.
Have a very
Thank
Merry
you.
Christmas.
You
Um,
too.
we
And
will
I look
see you
forward to
soon.
seeing you in the new year. Take
Yeah.
care. Bye.
Bye, everyone.